friends, we are trying our best to reach the Earth's moon, and even preparations to build a human settlement on the moon have begun. But has anyone thought what happened to the astronauts when they went to the moon? Has no one been sent to the moon after the Apollo mission? What is the whole story of the astronauts reaching the moon? What is the truth that scientists are hiding from us? Today we will know everything, just stay tuned with us. The 20th of July 1969, this is the date when a man set foot on the moon for the first time and created a history. And you all know who that person was. We are talking about Neil Armstrong, who set foot on the moon and opened many doors of space exploration in the future. The Apollo 11 mission launched by NASA stayed on the moon's surface for 21 hours and 31 minutes and returned to the Earth on the 24th of July 1969. Now everyone knows this much, but what is the truth behind it? The whole world is unaware of it. Because when humans were first sent to the moon, there were 3 astronauts: Neil Armstrong, Edwin Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, with whom something happened that you will be stunned to hear. It all started on the 16th of July 1969 when everyone in NASA's office was out of breath because the world's first humanoid space mission was about to take place. Where Apollo 11 was about to leave the Earth and go to space, and the 3 astronauts who were going to space were happy on one side that they were chosen for this historic work, while on the other hand, understanding the delicacy of the occasion, they knew that anything could happen to them in this mission. Where Michael Collins was present as a pilot in Apollo 11, while Neil Armstrong and Edwin had landed on the moon. Finally, at 8:32 in the morning, Apollo 11 was launched from the Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex, and the space journey of these 3 astronauts began. In just 4 days, they had reached very close to the surface of the moon. The lunar model from which the 3 astronauts reached the moon was named the Eagle. Everything was going according to plan. Then the astronauts found out that for some reason the Eagle was 4 seconds ahead of the scheduled time, which meant that the spacecraft was going to land somewhere else instead of the scheduled place, and its consequences could have been very dangerous. Because it was the first human mission in which even a little mess could have killed the 3 astronauts. And despite all this, the astronauts could not get any help from the Earth. On top of that, the distance between the spacecraft and the moon was only a few kilometers, on which nothing could happen. As soon as they came to know about this, the 3 astronauts started thinking and were trying to find a solution to this problem. Then another problem came to their necks. Actually, the Apollo guidance computer system, which was very important, started making errors all of a sudden. Now what was happening? Why was it happening? No astronaut knew about it. The 3 of them started getting sick, they started sweating out of fear. At first, the astronauts themselves tried to fix everything, but when nothing happened, Neil Armstrong immediately gave this information to the scientists of NASA on Earth. And then they got instructions from NASA to ignore this error and move on. There was no problem. However, later it was found that due to more command from the radar system, the computer system was overloaded. That's why the error was displayed. On the one hand, this error was visible, but on the other hand, a few minutes later, the astronauts started panicking due to the landing of the moon. But in all of them, Neil Armstrong showed his full courage, calmed down his mind and took all the controls in his hands. And landed the spacecraft in such a place that everyone was saved. This is the reason why the other 2 astronauts gave Neil Armstrong a chance to take the first step on the moon. Because both of them knew that if Neil Armstrong did not act intelligently, the situation could have worsened. On July 20th, at 8:17, the spacecraft landed safely on the moon. And Neil Armstrong gave tranquility to the astronauts. And from here, Neil took his first step on the moon. And with all his pride, he spread the American flag there. After taking a step on the moon, Neil Armstrong felt that nothing would happen now. After achieving such a great achievement, everything will be fine. But what did he know? That this is just the beginning of the challenges. Because in such a situation, when the astronauts felt that the trouble is over and they will start their journey to the Earth, then there were some things that NASA has been hiding from the world. Actually, friends, after spreading the flag, when they go back to the spacecraft, the astronaut realizes that they will not be able to reach the Earth again and they are stuck on the moon. Because after landing on the moon, there was a lot of pressure in the spacecraft's fuel engine and the soil in it was starting to turn into snow. Not only that, the scientists of NASA present on the Earth were also afraid that the situation will become more and more serious. That's why they should get off the spacecraft immediately, because the pressure had increased so much that the spacecraft could have been blasted at any time. If you think about it, if this had happened, it would have been impossible for the 3 astronauts to come back to Earth, and they would have taken their last breath on the moon because of the lack of hunger and oxygen. They would not have been able to stay alive for a long time. But friends, as they say, God has already written everything. That's why the Apollo 11 mission was supposed to be the best mission in human history, so there was no chance of success. In this case, you can call it a miracle or something else. But the snow in the spacecraft started to melt in a short time, due to which the pressure of the fuel pipe started to become normal. After traveling on the moon for about 2.5 hours and after solving these problems in the spacecraft, the hope of being alive again in the astronauts had arisen. But then another problem comes up. When the astronauts saw the switch in a part of the spacecraft, it broke and fell down, due to which the circuit broke down and its power was cut. But after a lot of searching, Edwin had the switch, but it was very difficult to fix it because they were astronauts, not mechanics, and during training, who knew that the switch would fall down? Here, Edwin tried many ways to get out of the problem, after which he came up with an idea of a local solution and put a pen in the hole from where the switch broke and fell. That is, the problem that the astronauts were busy solving in 6 hours, that problem was solved just by a pen, and the local solution did their job. Now they did not want to wait a moment. Now the time had come when the astronauts had to leave for the Earth. The plan was that the Columbian aircraft with which they had to return to the Earth had 2 modules in it. The first command module, in which the astronauts were on board, and the second service module, in which the rest of the equipment of the aircraft brought from the moon was present. Because both of these things had to go in different directions as soon as they came to the Earth of Columbia, so that they do not crash each other, but all this was not going to be so easy. It would have been a terrible explosion, but fortunately, despite coming down so fast, there was no such incident, and both landed very easily in the Pacific Ocean on July 24, 1979, and made this Apollo 11 mission so successful that the whole world still gives an example of this mission. Friends, whenever we talk about this successful mission, the first thing that comes to our mind is the name of Neil Armstrong. But we should not forget that in this mission, along with Neil Armstrong, there were also brave astronauts like Michael and Edwin. By the way, friends, what do you think? Will it be right to be a human settlement on the moon, or is our Earth enough for humans? Do comment and write your opinion. Do like and share the video. Press the bell icon by subscribing to the Songbird channel so that you don't miss the coming videos. See you in the next video.